Okay, so you should have done your value sheet. So let's continue on and we will look at that value sheet in class. So make sure you bring the completed version with you to class when I see you on Tuesday because we're going to use it with your time schedule that you did. You're not done with it yet, but you're going to need both of them in class. And so when we continue to look at some common problems students will have, as we said, distractions. And some of these distractions are used as a form of procrastination. So we want to assess our distractions to determine where and when we must study. So some of you will need to start utilizing libraries, whether it be the school library or local library, just places that give you a quiet place or a cubicle. If you do have spaces in your home, then we want to make sure we let others know that this is a time where we don't need anyone to come in. We don't need pets distracting us as we did in mine earlier. And so we want to make sure that other people know too that this is important for us and that we need to study and get our work done. Online distractions are especially a problem. We'll talk about online classes and how being right there with technology, right, can easily distract people. But again, we want to remove all technology if possible. And then if we are working on the computer, we want to limit our time in any browsers. We just want to spend our time doing our work. Also, what we want to do is make sure that we are not overextending ourselves. By nature, we like to belong and fit in, and so we say yes a lot of times when we don't really want to do something or we know that it's too much for us. So we have to start saying that magic word no and not overextending ourselves. We also need to notice that we may lose motivation. When people first start college, they're there every single day. Come about midterm, people start losing motivation and they start procrastinating and not doing their work and not turning things in. So we want to make sure we stay on top of that and renew our motivations. So basically, what we're saying is if we don't value things, which you looked at your values, so now things should start coming into picture for you. Why some things you just don't enjoy doing because you're going to realize that it doesn't correlate with your value system. So if we don't value it, then we're going to find distractions. We're going to have no motivation and we are going to overextend ourselves. And so for many of you, this is where I'm really pushing you this semester to dig deep and realize, do you really want to be here? Because if you do not value your education, you are going to find distractions. You're not going to have motivation. You're going to choose work and other activities and overextend yourself. And so we really want to focus on our value system, what it correlates to, because those are the type of things that will keep us motivated and help to remove those distractions. So when we look at time management, it's also another issue that it's the chapter of Title II, but it's many college students face this because you are now in control of your own time and your own schedule. No one's waking you up in the morning to go to school. No one is telling you what you need to do. You are in control of that schedule. And so for many people, this newfound independence, it's a bit of a struggle. And so we need to prioritize our task, our goals, and our values. So in doing so, again, first we must identify the values, we must set SMART goals, and then we're going to prioritize those tasks. But all of this is work. As we said, a lot of people just get up every day and do something, but they never become successful. So we want to learn to start looking at our value systems regularly, setting goals, and then we can prioritize our tasks based off of those goals and values. And for many of you, it's going to be highly important to find that balance between academics and the rest of your life. Because for many of you coming here, you are going 4 or 5 classes, and then you may have work, and then you may have family obligations. And so we do tend to get overwhelmed, and we just don't have enough time in a day. So we really have to find that balance, what works for us. And to do that, we want to prioritize our school, work, family obligations. So we do want to categorize them as school. This should be important to you. But yet, we also know many of you need to work to pay so we don't get that student loan debt. And then we know how utterly important in life family is. And so we do have to make sure we prioritize because, again, at the end of the day, we're not going to be happy if we are not doing things that correlate with our value system. And so, in order to do this, we need to do advanced planning. And this is where goals come in again, right? Where we're planning in advance. We're not just letting life happen to us. So, by advanced planning and scheduling things, we will reduce any issues that we may have or help to reduce them. So, basically, what this part of the text was telling you, we need to prioritize and find that balance because our emotional health is just as important as our physical health and our financial health. So, in order to do this, we want to get organized. We want to use a planner. We want to use a timetable. We want to maintain a to-do list, right? And so, when we look at these three things, some of you will say, well, I've never done any of these things. I've never had a planner. I've never written stuff down. I've never had a to-do list. But I want you to stop right now and think about how important are planners? How important is it to write stuff down? How important is to know what your day should look like? Some of you would say not very. Some of you would say it's somewhat important. Some of you would say very important, extremely. We are easily going to remedy this discussion. Right now, I want you to recite the list that I gave you at the beginning of these videos. So I gave you 5 minutes to memorize it, and I would like you to recite the list in order. So I'm going to give you a minute to think about it. All right. So now let's check your list. Let's see if you remembered bread, vitamin D milk, ham, cheese, lettuce, Greek yogurt, skim milk, vitamins, strawberries, bananas, flaxseed waffles, Eggo waffles, grape juice, Powerade, cat litter, and toilet paper. This is a real quick and easy activity for you to see how important it is to write things down. Some of you learned this very early, as I said in life. It is a habit for you that you were like born doing. Some of you didn't do it at all. When I was a high school teacher, I was always assigned students that failed 3 or more classes. And the reality is, when I met each one of them, the things they had in common was number one, they had a backpack full of papers, and number two, they wrote nothing down. You need to write things down. You now are going to have jobs. You are now going to have family responsibilities. It is now up to you to write down what needs to be done. And this quick little list that I didn't even give you more than 45 minutes ago, most of you could not remember, or you didn't remember in order, or you didn't remember everything. And in the real world, that's important if you don't remember something. And those of you that have a spouse know it's important if you go to the grocery store and they gave you a list and you forgot it. We have to write things down. So hopefully this one activity will show you the importance of writing things down. However, some of you are going to be used to using calendars, which is awesome because you have a calendar that's built into your email account. Some of you will use Google, and that's fine too. And so not only is it a way to write things down, but also to give yourself those reminders. So businesses are going to these because now you don't get emails for meetings, you get calendar invites. So when you go to our Sanjack email, so when you log in, you are going to see your email, but then you are going to see a button with some squares. And if you click that button with your squares, you have an Outlook calendar. So right up here at the corner, you're going to see calendar. Oh, did I not click on calendar there? I'm sorry, I clicked on the wrong thing. However, you have access to all of these things. So if you get a computer at Fry's that doesn't have any of the Microsoft products, it comes free with your email account here at St. Jack. And so when you click on this, it will open up your calendar. And so this is a way for you to list what you are doing and then to have reminders sent to you. So I usually get reminders sent to me 24 hours in advance, so I know what's going on. However, the good thing is when your friends say, hey, can you come do this on blah, blah, blah day? You instantly look up and say, no, I'm busy, or no, I'm free that day. Because what you will find is many people in life that will double and triple book, and then you just think they're flaky and you don't trust them. You don't want to be that person, and surely you don't want to be that person at work. So if we're not writing them down, we need to make sure that we are using some type of digital system as well. Somewhere things need to be written down. So whether it's digitally recorded or not, it needs to be written down. And so that one little activity should have showed you the importance of you needing to write things down. So let's get back here. Let me pull it up. There we go. All right, so in organizing our days, we want to set realistic goals. That's part of SMART goals, right? But when it comes to realistic goals for studying, meaning I need to do it in no more than 30-minute chunks. It's not realistic to think I'm going to sit down and study for 2 hours. We ended up doing other things, thinking about other things, singing songs, doing whatever. So we need to set no more than 15 to 30 minutes at a time to study. We need to use waiting time. I was just reading an article about highly successful people that say they use transportation time, those downtimes when they're in cars or being driven somewhere. So if you're waiting at a doctor's appointment, you're on a bus, you're waiting for a class, instead of being on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, we should be using that time to review class notes and to study or to read. Again, we want to know ourselves and know the best times of day to study for us. I am a morning person. I used to always wake up at about 4 a.m. and study for that day. There's no way I can stay up till 11 p.m. to study. I just know that about myself. We want to restrict repetitive, distracting, time-consuming tasks, such as constantly looking at our social media, constantly looking at our email, watching TV, things that we're doing that's time-consuming. We need to, when we look at our day, see where do I have blocks of times where I can study. Many of you binge watch Netflix, but yet you say you didn't have time to study. Those are times in our days that it's repetitive and distracting that we need to utilize that time wisely. We also want to avoid multitasking. And so that's going to be another activity that we are going to do. We're going to go ahead and do that in class on Tuesday. So we'll discuss about how multitasking not necessarily is something is not necessarily something we can do and or do well. We also want to let others help keep us on track. The reality is successful people have assistants to help keep them on track. Many of us will never have that opportunity. So maybe it's a spouse, maybe it's a parent, maybe you're type A, you have yourself organized, but if not, you help others. I am definitely the type A. I tell Eric every day what he needs to be doing. And so for some of you, you need to find that person that's going to help you. And then we want to be flexible. Because those of us that are type A, the organization comes easy, but we freak out whenever things don't happen exactly how we want them to happen. So we need to be flexible whenever we have those scheduled disruptions. So you are going to move to the last video. I'm going to stop this one and then I will post the last one.